Hi, this is Peter with AM and PM Tutoring. Today I'm going to walk you through what I consider the style rules that you need to know to ace the English portion of the ACT. If you haven't already watched my videos about grammar and about punctuation, I would encourage you to watch those as well. Those will give you all the tools that you need to ace this part of the ACT. Let's jump into it. The first rule is that versus who. Who is a pronoun for a person or for people. That or what are the pronouns for everything else. For example, let's see if you can fix this sentence that's incorrect. The coach is the one that is in charge. Well, the coach is a person, so it should be the coach is the one who is in charge. How about this one? The elephant is the animal who eats the most. Nope, the elephant is an animal, not a person, so the elephant is the animal that eats the most. The next rule is avoid ambiguous references. Let me give you an example of what this looks like on the ACT. Ethel told Lucy that her apples were delicious. Well, when you read that sentence, you ask yourself, whose apples were delicious? Were they Ethel's or were they Lucy's? The sentence doesn't make it clear. There's a lot of ways you could fix this, but it's important that you're able to recognize it. Here's one example of how you might fix this sentence. You could just say, Ethel told Lucy, quote, my apples are delicious. All right, our next rule is called parallel structure. This means that lists should keep the same tense and basic structure throughout the sentences. Here's an example. Peeling hazelnuts requires skill, patience, and the ability to persevere. Well, now that's an okay sentence grammatically, but it's much better if we say peeling hazelnuts requires skill, patience, and perseverance. How about this one? The Indian moved carefully, quietly, and in a slow manner. Hopefully you can see that it's better if we say the Indian moved carefully, quietly, and slowly. The next rule to talk about is called dangling modifiers, and these are very easy to get wrong because we make this mistake all the time in speaking English. Here's an example of what this looks like. Long and tangled, even the comb couldn't pass through the child's hair. Well, now that thing at the beginning of the sentence, that long and tangled, that's called a modifier. And you have to ask yourself, what is it describing? It should be describing the child's hair, right? But the subject of this sentence right now is the comb. Are you saying that the comb is long and tangled? That's what this sentence is suggesting. The best way to fix this sentence would likely be, even the comb couldn't pass through the child's long and tangled hair. Here's another one. As a young boy, my father taught me how to whittle. Fix that sentence for me. Well, you're right. This is suggesting that your father was a young boy when he taught you how to whittle. I don't think that's possible. So let's fix this by saying, as a young boy, I learned how to whittle from my father. Another similar rule is what's called a misplaced modifier. This is the rule that whatever you're describing needs to stay right next to the description. Here's a bad sentence to correct. Ray wore his only shirt to the job interview, which was stained with mustard. Now this sounds like the job interview was stained with mustard. So let's fix this sentence to say, Ray wore his only shirt, which was stained with mustard, to the job interview. Here's another bad example. She handed out brownies to children wrapped in foil. Well, the children weren't wrapped in foil, so this sentence should say, she handed out brownies wrapped in foil to the children. Our next rule is simplify. If they give you multiple answers that all work, go for the simplest one. Here's an example of a bad sentence they might give you on the ACT. The coach, who leads the team and tells them what to do, picked his strongest players for the starting lineup. Well, of course the coach leads the team and tells them what to do. So this sentence would be fixed if we just said, the coach picked his strongest players for the starting lineup. Another way that they'll try to get you on the ACT is to put in redundancy. Eliminate all of the words that mean the same thing. Here's a bad example to fix. I worry that I might perhaps be late, maybe. This is a pretty extreme example, but you can see that we can just say, I worry that I might be late. That means the exact same thing without so many of the words that mean the exact same thing. Next, I'd like to talk about voice. Your tone and voice should be consistent, and this is something that you kind of feel in your gut. Here's an example of a bad sentence. After you've finished filling out your government forms, it is advisable that you get your sweet little self over to the Department of Applications for processing. You can feel that that sweet little self just doesn't belong there. I actually didn't make this one up. I saw it on a test and I thought it was hilarious. So let's fix the sentence. After you've finished filling out your government forms, it is advisable that you go to the Department of Applications for processing. Next, I'd like to talk about the difference between the words infer and imply. To imply is to drop a hint. You can think like you drop a piece of plywood. And to infer is to pick up on a hint or a clue. So let's see if you can fix these sentences. I could imply from his hair that he had jumped out of bed to run to class. Well, that's picking up on a hint or a clue, so that's infer. I could infer from his hair that he had jumped out of bed to run to class. Are you inferring by your comment that I'm ugly? What this sentence should say is, are you implying by your comment that I am ugly? Next, I'd like to talk about questions where they give you specific criteria, and the rule is, give them what they ask for. This kind of question on the ACT is really easy to get wrong, because there's multiple sentences that sound good. But if you're really focusing on what they're asking for, you'll get them right every single time. Here's an example. The question might be something like, which of the following best illustrates the setting? Now, the word illustrates gives an idea of coloring and adding detail. So here's some options. Option A, the Count laughed heartily at her terror. Option B, the wall felt slimy to the touch. Option C, the dark hallway was illuminated only by torches, while bats hung from the slimy ceiling, and a musty breeze floated from the dungeon below. I think you can see pretty quickly and obviously that option C is the best answer. Give them what they ask for. Another type of question they might ask you is to pick a transition word. These are words like however, therefore, nevertheless. When you pick these words, you have to read the sentence before and after to figure out which is the most appropriate word. Now let's talk about active versus passive voice. If given the option, you should avoid passive voice on the ACT. Here's a few examples. The book was written by John Smith. Technically, that's an okay sentence, but a better sentence is, John Smith wrote the book. That's active voice. Here's another one with passive voice. The beans were cooked by the lunch lady. Well, let's put that into active voice and say, the lunch lady cooked the beans. Finally, the ACT has purpose questions. These are the kinds of questions that say, suppose that the author intended to write an essay about yada yada. Would this essay fulfill that requirement? Now, when you approach these, I find it's often most helpful to ask yourself, if my teacher gave me an assignment, would I write this essay for that assignment? For example, if my teacher assigned me to write a paper about one reformer from history, would I write this essay about Reformation in general? Asking yourself that question should give you clear eyesight as you make those tough decisions. Hopefully this was a helpful review of the stylistic questions that they can throw at you on the ACT English section. You don't have to like the ACT, but you can like this video and you can share it with your friends. If you're interested in any of my free ACT prep materials or in hiring a tutor, you can shoot me an email at helpmecrushtheact@gmail.com. Thanks, and I hope that was helpful.